This conference will now be recorded. There you go.
Yeah, it was a disaster.
As long as I keep one.
I got 6 o'clock, we'll call the meeting in order, we'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have one quick little amendment change. We're gonna change, old business, A and B, we're gonna just switch them around. So how we deal with that?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. We will open the public comment portion. Individuals may address the city council about any items concerned. Speakers must state their name and limit their remarks to 2 minutes. If it's referring to the flag, once we open that up, the resolution, we'll do public comments portion for that, which would be 6B. So do we have any public comment portion other than the flag? Yes, sir.
Ryan Mokreski, 356 Warren Avenue. Just kind of wondering what we're doing with public safety in regards to the person that got run over a couple weeks ago. I was out of the country when that happened, and my first thought when I heard it was on Second was, oh my gosh, it was that drive-through. It was that silly intersection up there combined with the drive-through. I know that wasn't the case, but as a citizen of a growing town, you know, we put an apartment building in, we're putting another one in. That's decreased visibility. That's more people. We've got some goofy intersections. You've got a drive-through that people are not using as it was designed with that bypass to enter traffic the right way. You know, when's the next person gonna get run over, and what can we do to avoid that?
I mean, in my opinion, that incident that happened, the lady get hit, it wasn't that intersection, it was this intersection right here. So the drive-through hasn't been an issue. We haven't seen it as an issue as a PD yet, I don't think. So, I mean, I understand your concern, and it's something that we'll keep an eye on, and our PD does a good job of, if they have concerns with traffic.
I just know I personally had a lot of close calls at the intersection, you know, just as it was before, and then we added the drive-through thing to it, and people aren't using it. I mean, just look at the tracks in it. No one's using it. They're just entering traffic the wrong way where there's already not visibility. And we're gonna make it worse with more buildings, more people, more cars in the streets, so.
Any more public comments? I will close the public comment portion and we'll jump to consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine by council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless council member requests, in which case item will be removed from consent agenda and be considered in its normal sequence of agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Accounts payable, Joan.
Just a couple to look at. 82605 was the Schumacher excavating. We had a water leak repair. and That was for $5,731.33. And also with sewer, we had Ambien PBC. That is 1069175. That bill is for $6,116.87. Everything else was very normal for the month. Does anyone have any questions or comments? If no one has any questions or comments, I would make a motion to approve accounts payable in the amount of $63,757.45.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions on accounts payable? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thanks, Joan. We'll do old business. We'll jump to 6B first, Resolution 2026-08, resolving and display, resolution, we'll go 6A, Resolution 2026-06, 910 West 2nd Street, CUP. Miles? What?
Did you switch those before we started?
I did, but, yeah, sorry, sorry, Miles, go ahead.
Okay. So last council meeting, we talked about a conditional use permit where a possible manufactured home going on a residential lot while they do repairs on the primary residence there or the primary structure. So Mike and I and Brian kind of sat down and we went over this, going over our code. And we feel as though that it does not meet the standards of our zoning code and our performance standards. So we feel it's in the best interest to deny this conditional use permit. Some of the grounds for that was that we have, while we don't prohibit manufactured homes, we do have other provisions that make it difficult for one to be there, such as having a foundation of wood or concrete. And we also noted that the R2 zoning district doesn't list a primary residence as a conditional use. Thereby, it's kind of doesn't make a lot of sense in our opinion. And since there's already two structures there, one of them already being technically a residence, even though it's kind of maybe a commercial building, but that's really neither here nor there. So we felt as though that the findings made and that we came to do not allow for this type of building to go there or for this conditional use permit to exist. So we provided some findings within the resolution there. Mike Flaherty did a really good job of kind of summarizing our thoughts and kind of painting why it wouldn't work to go in this specific spot. So we know council wanted more information. So just providing more information on this particular issue and just hoping for a denial tonight.
Any questions or comments, council? I know we discussed that a couple meetings ago.
Was there any consideration for ways in which it would fit to do something like this?
Yeah, we talked, and I talked with the applicant about this as well, but we spoke about the possibility of splitting the lot. And, there's just some issues with, having setbacks, what the lot size is. We just have a lot of restrictions, and it's the same as any city does when it comes to zoning code. Is we have very specific uses and very specific performance standards for the lot size. It just makes it really difficult for this to work. There's also kind of talk about, all right, well, we have water there, but we have to do an extra water hookup. And so having multiple hookups on one property makes it a challenge as well. So there was kind of more, the alternatives that we have that maybe could work that I discussed with her just would take more time and more work to do than maybe it was worth it. She would have to do multiple variances to even make it work. So we kind of felt it was in the best interest that it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't really work. Our performance standards are they're standard across the board. It's the same as any other residential zoning district. It's just, this one in particular it's an oddball, where the structure that's on the property there right now, it's a ways back, there's space for something, but it's just a weird one, especially when you're talking about having two residences. It almost kind of gets into territory of accessory dwelling units, which we don't really have specific answer for. And that's kind of being discussed by the state legislature in itself anyway. So it's just kind of an oddball, kind of a mess of a piece. But we kind of felt as though because it's not specifically listed as a conditional use or an accessory use, and because of our yard regulations, our general provisions, performance standards for structures, it just wouldn't work. And then when you kind of get into the territory, if it was okay, we have to talk about the building permit process as well. So there'd be all those code compliance reviews anyway. So it's just a lot going against it that don't make it work. And the alternatives that we discussed weren't enough for her to say, I want to go ahead and put all this work in to possibly even do it, especially when you consider multiple variances with discussion points by council and planning commission multiple times. We've seen that before. Well, they'll say no to doing variances and multiple of them as well. So.
Make a motion to approve the resolution 2026-06.
I'll second that motion, denying
Yep, it's a denial.
the permit.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Nope, roll call.
Oh, sorry, roll call. Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kevin? Aye. Fred? And I, passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Mile, for all that work. Let's jump down to 6B, Resolution 2026-08, resolving the display of the 1983 Minnesota state flag city property. Miles, do you want to go first, or do you want to open the public comments? Okay, sorry. What?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Miles. Wasn't supposed to be Miles. I was supposed to be Kevin.
You want to go first, Kev?
I can say something quick.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is being brought up because our current climate with just the culture that we're living in and the lack of respect and things that we have for our heritage. One of the issues is, what flag do we fly? What is the process for getting a flag? What represents Minnesotans across the state? And one of the things that happened in 2023, 2024, the state legislature provided for a flag emblem redesign commission in order to redesign a flag. What they ended up doing was empowering the committee to act independently, and as our representatives themselves, they did not end up taking a final vote on approving the flag. And so it was put off to a committee that none of our actual elected representatives had a voting voice on. And so that produced a flag design that does not really represent our heritage, our great cultural diversity. And the proposal that I have set before us is to maintain the 1983 flag, which is simply a consistent rendering all the way back to the territorial purpose of Minnesota back in 1849. And what I would like to see is just an embracing of that until a proper procedure is brought about to identify if a new flag should exist.
Thanks, Kevin. I will open the public portion of comments. When you guys come up, please come up to the front where we can get your voice. Please state your name and your address, please.
Tammy Cedegren, and I live at 225 Mill Street. I am in support of Kevin's motion. I'd like to see what is referred to as the old flag used, not the new flag. There's a lot of bad feeling about the new flag. It feels like every time that thing waves, it's a slap in the face of Minnesota citizens who were not consulted overall on a new flag design. And it's also a constant reminder to the Minnesota Americans of the waste, fraud, and abuse. In my opinion, when I see that new flag, and it's waving. It's like the Democrats own this waste, fraud, and abuse. I associate it with the Democratic Party because Governor Walz appointed half of that committee himself, and he did it in a partisan manner, and the other half are known partisans. So it is not a good representation of Minnesota overall, and we should fly the old flag, is in my opinion.
Good evening. My name is Aaron Schumacher. I live at 415 Lally Court. I'm here obviously to share my thoughts on the flag, but I'm not here to argue for one flag over the other. It's more about process. I just don't feel like this is a debate suitable for a city council. The state representatives, whether people like it or not, set forth the process. This was a decision there. And I definitely, sorry, let me stick to my notes. I absolutely believe if people disagree with that process, they should bring that to their statewide elected representatives. But I don't feel it's a place of a city council to protest a state level decision in this manner. This is why I would encourage you to vote no on the proposal to fly the 1983 version of the Minnesota state flag. And finally, I just want to say thank you, council members, mayor. I know you have a tough job, a lot of tough decisions. I really don't think this should be one. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, please.
Roger Summerfield, 750th 4th Street here in Serota. I think we should have our own flag back for the reason is that it's a history. It's history of the Minnesota. What they did, they didn't really give us a vote on the new one or nothing like that. They just decided to do it. But you got to remember, they're tearing down our history. Our kids need to know what's basically is going on, how this all came about. And if we take our old flags and our old history away, it's going to be gone forever. We need to bring that back again. So.
Yes, sir.
I'm doing this, John Meyer, live on 180th Ave. And I came to encourage the council really to adopt the new flag. I believe pretty strongly that the process was the process, and it's been done. And like he says, if you don't like it, there's another way to go about that instead of each city being different. And if you take a look at it, it's hard to believe that the old one is anything but an insult to the indigenous peoples. So it seems much more welcoming to have the newer flag. That's my point.
We have 2 minutes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna read this whole poem, which was written by the wife of the creator of the original. Oh, sorry.
Please.
Laura Mokreski, 356 Warren Avenue. So I was gonna read the entire poem, but I don't think we have time for that. So I'm just gonna read 2 stanzas of it. So this was written by the wife of the creator of the original state seal. So it starts, give way, young warrior, thou and thy seed give way. Rest not, though lingers on the hills, the red sun's parting ray. The rocky bluff and prairie land, the white man claims them now. The symbols of his course are here, the rifle, axe, and plow. A little later it says, give way, young warrior, our title would you seek. 'Tis the rich against the poor, and the strong against the weak. We need thy noble rivers, thy prairies green and wide, and thy dark and frowning forests that skirt the valley's side. The red man's course is onward, nor stayed his footsteps be, till by his rugged hunting ground beats the relentless sea. We claim his noble heritage, and Minnesota's land must pass with all its untold wealth to the white man's grasping hand. So I hope that made some of you uncomfortable. It made me uncomfortable to read it, but that's what the symbolism of the old state seal was meant to be, was manifest destiny and the white man and the settlers taking over for the land of the indigenous people. I personally feel like we've advanced in the last 176 years, and the new flag represents Minnesota better Minnesotans today better than that flag does. I also want to point out that a few years ago, we got a new logo for the city of Zumbrota to take us into the future, and it's more modern. As far as I know, no one was like protesting against that or saying we need the historic old one. I also think the new flag does represent Minnesota well. It has a unique shape that echoes the state. It has the North Star, which is one of our symbols. And it's also very distinctive. You can recognize it right away, which is what a flag is supposed to do, versus the 33 other flags that are mostly a blue background with the state seal. So I would encourage you to vote no on this measure.
Carol Jackson, 44460 Jefferson Avenue, Zumbrota, Minnesota. I think the old flag is a beautiful flag, and I think it represents our Indians. We love our Indians. There's, yes, some white men came in, but I think it's not fair to take them off of it, and I don't find a reason good enough why they want to even make a new flag. So I suggest that we vote yes for keep our old flag. I don't even know why they have changed it. Because this one looks pretty blah to me.
Anybody else on public comments? Yes, sir.
Larry Peterson, 640 Warren Avenue. Some people say they're offended, I'm offended. So now what we're gonna do? I mean, that flag has flown for years and hasn't offended anybody, but now everybody's getting sensitive. If you're offended, they automatically almost win the conversation. And we didn't vote on it, and you guys got voted in by a majority. They should have had us vote to see what we said, and not them, because the flag is ours and not the government's. Thank you.
Mary Goodman, 626 Stratford Drive, Zumbrota. I feel we've lost a lot of history generally through the school systems and everything else. I don't think we need to be losing the history of our American flag. Thank you.
Yeah, Bob Hawley, 16 Mill Street. And I guess I find it a little interesting that you're wasting your time on this because we are all part of Minnesota. We have one state flag, we have one state bird, and we have one state tree. And I just don't understand. I don't particularly like the old flag, and I don't particularly am that fond of the new one. But there's a process that the state went through to adopt the flag, and for us to fly a different flag at this point, to me, just doesn't make any sense. And I think it's a waste of our time to be spending much more time on this. So I hope you get it settled tonight one way or another, and I would be against this resolution.
Perfect. Thanks, Bob. Anybody else on public comments? Yes, ma'am.
Renee Hemrick from 144 Highland Circle. I'm actually, if I'm saying this correctly, for the resolution to change it back to the old flag. Is that what?
Yep.
Okay, I want to make sure that I'm saying it correctly. When I look around this room, and I'm a new resident, fairly new resident of Zumbrota. When I look around this room, I see it's filled with history of this town, right? And in Minnesota, born over the line in Iowa, but I always lived in Minnesota. And I feel like the people of Minnesota didn't have a choice in changing the flag. Now, you may have come up with this new symbol, which I didn't even know that was a new symbol for Zumbrota. But if someone came in and they said, well, we're going to change it again, it's not going to have the covered bridge in it because that's, it's just a symbol. We don't really need that because we're moving forward. I think there would be a lot of people in this area that would really resent not having the covered bridge in the symbol of Zumbrota because it's part of the rich history of this area. And so I just feel like the old flag is representative, where the new flag has just 3 colors in it. It doesn't really say anything about where's the land of 10,000 lakes? Where's the farming land? What's going on in this area, in our Minnesota area? So I just feel like it's an important part of history. And I feel like that's what this area, our area here, wants that history. Is that 2 minutes?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. I just feel like this area, history is important to this area. And I believe that the old flag would better represent what Minnesota and how Minnesota should be represented. Thank you.
Any more public comments? I will close the public, yes, sir.
Merle Dell, 77 Mill Street. The new flag, it was beyond me. I wasn't engaged at that point. All of a sudden, there's the flag. I kind of questioned it. And today what I did is, in response to that, I saw that on my webpage that KTTC was going to be here this evening. I did some research and got down to what it boils down to, I think, what I found, and the response to the 24 flag. It said here that the public reaction to the final design of the 24 Minnesota state flag was mixed. Many praising its simplicity and symbolism. And it goes on to basically say that a local news poll was taken. However, we found that 23% of Minnesota voters supported adopting the new flag, while 21% preferred replacing it with a different flag, different design, and 49% wanted to keep the existing flag. And as I went down through here, gets a little political, I guess. Democratic leaders praised the inclusive design process and removal of the controversial image from the previous flag. However, conservative critics argued this new flag resembled someplace else. So that's where we're at. Although it did say several rural community, greater Minnesota counties, including Crow Wing, Houston, McLeod, Nobles, Becker, Mauer, Brown, passed resolutions opposing either the new flag or a process by which it was chosen. And in early 24, I guess Republican legislators used bills seeking to place the new flag on a statewide ballot, but those efforts stalled. So there does seem to be some controversy. You know, there's people on both sides agree with it and don't agree with it. You know, in regards to the symbolism and things like that, I think it's something to take a look at. Although what I liked was the new Great Seal. I don't know if you've ever looked at that. It would have been nice if maybe they incorporated that into our flag. It looks nice. As I read down through it, it addressed some of those symbolisms that it was talking about. Excuse me?
10 seconds.
10 seconds left or 10? All right. Well, Wild Rice mentions notice of the Dakota language, trees, water, things like that. Things that some of the other symbolism was used in this flag. I think there's a better alternative, and I understand Bob's situation. We're kind of barking up, but there are communities and places, and I have noticed that areas that are displaying the existing old flag.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Glenn Proudfoot, 450 Lancaster Boulevard. I don't like the new flag, but it is the new flag, and if you fly the old flag, you actually won't be flying the state flag. So I'm one that doesn't see the need for this boat anyway.
Any more public comments? I will close the public comment portion and open it up to council if they want to give any of their opinions, ideas. I will go first to kind of get it going. Kevin brought this up to me, it was probably been 3 weeks ago. I didn't know as much as I do now about it, the current, the past, and the previous. I've been bombarded today, the last 2-3 days, of comments from public. I've talked a lot, emails. I would say it's kind of 50-50 out there of what people want and see. To get down to my honest opinion, I would have to agree with some of the comments here. It really, as a local government, is it really our responsibility to deal with the state flag? My opinion is we have the pool that we got to address. We have an apartment complex being built. We have a major construction, which we're going to get to going on in town and opening bids and stuff like that. Is that the easy cop way out? Well, you can look at it that way maybe, but I don't want to make my decision on a personal basis. I don't want to make it on a Republican or Democrat or how it was brought or how it wasn't. My job as mayor and our city council is to do our best to provide for our residents and taxes and infrastructure and have our city grow. So that's kind of my opinion on it. Kevin and I have talked a lot on it. Kevin knows where I stand personally, but as mayor of Zumbrota, I don't think it's a wise time, because I have spent a lot of time. I know our city staff has spent a lot of time dealing with this topic, and I don't want to make it a personal decision. So that is my interest in this topic.
I guess I would agree with Todd and some of the residents here. I think that this is something that if you have a disagreement about the flag that we currently have as our state flag, then reach out to your representatives. I'm not sure that it's a place for the city of Zumbrota City Council to make that decision. It should be done through your legislature, your elected officials.
And one more thing I want to add that I forgot about is, yes, this is how things get changed, is by local small government and getting it out there and getting the word out there. But again, is that something that I feel that the city of Zumbrota as mayor and council need to start that when it's different interests that are involved? So I do understand that. It could be a local government issue that could change the world. I know I signed a petition here 4 or 5 months ago on a different topic, and it started with the mayors then, but that was a different topic. Yeah, and that's what that was. Yeah.
We're standing at the cusp of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence coming up. And it is a legal document that is founded upon the Christian practice of interposition. The lesser magistrates stand in behest of those they represent to someone who has made a wrong maneuver about them in order to bring about protection and freedom and liberties and preserve a cultural way of life. Our forefathers did that for a 4% tax. We're talking about a flag here that in the respect of the amount of time we put into it, we're going to be talking later, and we've talked many times before, on $1 million of bonding issues and things like that for pools, for schools, for curriculum. We've assisted with that. All of those bring about because they're bonding, a form of indenturedness to future generations. We are taking and spending their money to provide a resource now. This flag costs us nothing to be able to stand and say, This is something that's worth preserving as a heritage, as a symbol, as a teaching opportunity. Yes, there are bad actors in history. There have been bad actors all throughout, and we don't whitewash those things. The poem by the wife of the seal maker, Mary Eastman, she has an illegitimate sentiment that should not be reproduced. But the desire and expectation of the people who formed the seal, who wanted it, Henry Sibley, his whole idea was that we see the progress forward of the Native American and the settler in the state of Minnesota. That's why they're both represented in the seal, because there's a movement forward in terms of economy, capitalizing the next economy, the next generation. It's important for us to maintain that sort of historical legacy going forward.
Any more comments, opinions, ideas?
I guess one of the things that Kevin talks about, the way this was put through, in order to become a new flag, that's kind of the question that I've come up with is the process we don't believe was done correctly. And here we're in a process and we want to do the process correctly. At some point, I think we need to make that stand to say, let's make the process correct. And I want to follow that process in our small cities and putting that forward so that people that we represent can be represented properly. I guess I kind of agree with Kevin, and I'm not going to say one way or other about the flag right now. To me, it was the process that it was done, and I want to do the correct process. And if this is a way that we can state to say, hey, this wasn't done properly, but we want to make it proper. And that's what Kevin had said too. It's like, if we can show this and then they can go through and do a proper vetting, they can do a proper procedure to put a flag in place. That's what we're looking for, and that's what we're asking for.
Doesn't that all start with the locals submitting a petition to the representatives and then it being moved forward? Because what you're doing is you're actually taking out that step of the political process by saying, we're not going to fly that flag. You've already said you're superseding the process.
Glenn, we're done with public comment, sorry. Any direction comes?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution 2026-08.
Any further discussions? We'll do roll call. Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Nay.
Kevin?
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
I nay. Passes 3-2. Thank everybody for the effort, the work on this topic, and we will jump to new business. 6A, set a special meeting public hearing for a tax abatement to help fund the new pool. Brian, do you have, I know we talked about it, I know we didn't know if we talked about date times on that.
We did, yeah. But let me just do a little rundown first of all. Kind of a little bit of background that I didn't include in the packet. Because really what we're after is to set a public hearing to talk about an abatement. But to give the background behind this, of course, everybody knows we've been working on this pool since before I was here. We got to the point where we went out for bids. The bids came back way high the first time. Second time they came back, you'll see on here, they came back about a little over $300,000 over the estimated probable cost. So just a hair under $5 million, which we've been talking about. Also along the way, the fundraising has not materialized the way we had hoped. So that results in a $1.3 million gap in funding to get this pool done at this time. As you recall, we went to the voters and asked for $3 million of bonding. That passed like 76% yes, something like that. So this presents a dilemma for the council. So and we spoke about this at length in a couple of work sessions, but there's some options. One option would be to go back to the voters and ask for additional dollars. That would push it off a year and cause another, give or take, $600,000 of cost for inflation. The inflation rate is 10 to 12% plus rebidding fees if we get any bidders a third time. So we would all likely have to go back and ask for another $2 million from the voters to get this project done. Another option would be to, we had talked about interfund loans. We've been talking about that for quite some time. Our finance director and public works director and I sat down and did a good, hard, deep dive into those funds, sewer fund and water fund, and there are just too many projects coming up. If we peel 800,000 or 850,000 out to help fund the pool at this time, that's going to cause issues down the road. Not that it's not an option for council, but we recommend not looking at that. We consulted with our Ehlers, our financial advisors, early on, and they recommended if we ended up with a gap in funding that an abatement would be a good way to go. What an abatement is an authority for a city to issue debt. Now, council could use that authority to issue more debt without going to the voters again. That would be $1.3 million as opposed to the roughly $2 million if we went back and asked for more and delayed it a year. So that is what this is about. This is part of that process is a public hearing, which is right. We want to hear from the public. And so we're looking to set a public hearing on Wednesday, the 8th, April 8th at 6 p.m. here in council chambers to do just that, get comments from citizens on if council were to decide to use an abatement and get a pool built starting this spring for the citizens.
So we just need approval for the April 8th at 6 o'clock for the public, for a work session concerning the tax abatement on the pool, correct?
That's correct, yep.
And that's only topic, correct?
That's the only topic right now, yep.
So everybody okay with April 8th at 6 o'clock for a tax abatement meeting? That work for you, Kevin? Mm-hmm. Bob?
I think it will. I turn my phone off. So.
It is now.
Yes.
Fred? That work for you? Okay. So I just need a motion and a second to approve that
I'll make
special.
that motion to approve the April the 8th at 6 p.m. for that public hearing.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Yeah, 5-0-0. Thanks, Brian. 6B, Resolution 2026, Pleasant Avenue unbudgeted transfers. Kim?
Hello. Actually, the new auditor that we have is preferring that these kind of transfers that we do come before the council with resolution. So I have made one transfer already this year that did not come before the council, and that is just, we use our capital projects fund and a portion of our infrastructure fund to fund the cost of the project. So I had already made that transfer. So this is a retroactive, and actually you will be seeing at the next meeting, the retroactives for last year, because normally we just made the transfers, but they want to see those transfers that are not within the budget per se in a resolution form. So this is just a formality of what was already done.
So I assume there's going to be a lot of these or a few of these throughout the year?
There will be some every year, especially when we're doing projects. The ones that I said for the retroactive for 2025 will come in one resolution.
Yep, actually.
I'll second.
Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Fred? And aye, passes 5-0-0. 6C Resolution 2026-11, revised personnel policy. Miles.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. So over the last 6 to 8 months, I'd say, we've been in the process of revising our personnel policy to be more modernized because the last changes were the last change was really 2011, 2010. So frankly, it's overdue. And we've had a lot of changes since then. So, we do union negotiations every couple of years. And those updates we like to reflect in our personnel policy as well, because those are part of our contracts and a majority of our employees are union. So we just want to reflect it in those. So we're bringing a new revised personnel policy for you to approve this evening. We had lots of discussion at two different work sessions now about this for council, hearing some different proposals. Proposals like the tuition reimbursement that we had proposed has been removed after discussion from city council. And really, we're just updating it to be based off our League of Minnesota Cities model, which is it's very generic, and it's easy for us to update as things change. State legislature has made a lot of changes to different leaves over the last few years in particular. Easy for us to get updates as those come in. And the League of Minnesota Cities does a great job of giving us language so we can update that too. So it's an easy version for us to kind of go with as time passes, and we can update rather easily. We've had a lot of comments from staff now, so we've been able to kind of incorporate all of those. So we're bringing a finalized version for you tonight. One thing I will note as well, we did catch a typo on page 27. That's being revised, or it's already been redone. So it was just we forgot to put it, or I forgot to put in the comp time amount for compensatory time. So that's in there now, and I just reworded it so it made sense. So that's really the only thing we really caught that was an issue as well.
Any questions for Miles on that? I know he's been working hard on that, so.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-11 for the new personnel policy.
Any further discussions? All there? Aye. Sorry, roll call. Yeah, roll call. Bob. Joan.
Aye.
Kevin. Aye. Fred. And I passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Miles, for all that work on that. Let's do 6D, a Public Works Director Vehicle. Jeff.
Yeah, just put together some possibilities for a public works vehicle. Put together a formula to try and figure out the best cost effective from new to used. And it was, by doing that, it was very hard to beat the cost of ownership over buying new for the long haul or whatever. We're looking at probably 12 years of ownership on that. It's just kind of addressing outstanding issue that there was never a public works director vehicle. I haven't used my personal vehicle, and this will just have I'll be in a marked vehicle that is insured by the city.
I guess I have two questions. I know the answers because I talked to Brian. One, are you okay with a vehicle versus a pickup? I mean, okay.
For my duties and stuff like that, I'll be able to outfit with the GPS unit, stuff like that, that I need to do what I need to do day to day.
And that was one of my questions, and Brian says he asked you that, so that was one of my questions. I mean, and I assume it's in the budget and the capital improvements, and it's all taken care of because you've done very well with that.
Yep, as stated in the memo or whatever, yep, we have the funds in there to cover. Yep. Perfect.
Can I just jump in there from an administrative standpoint? Sorry. I guess I didn't wait for you to tell me if I could, but I just want to thank Jeff and his staff because they really took control of this equipment schedule. They've been shifting things around, reprioritizing, and this is one of those things that we've talked about for quite a while, that we want our public works director not to be putting a whole bunch of miles on their own vehicle. And if something were to happen, we want him in one of the vehicles that we insure as well. So kudos to that.
Perfect. I just wanted to thank Jeff too for that, and Kim and all you guys that have worked to manipulate your budgets to keep things in budget and your capital plan in line. So I really appreciate that.
And I just want to piggyback on that, what everybody else says. Jeff has done a very good job of taking that and dealing with that. And I know other city staff has appreciated that and being organized and getting questions and details. Because I asked some things to Brian that Brian already has told Jeff, and Jeff has done it to satisfy it also. He's done very well, and I appreciate that too.
One of them trucks, yeah. We've got a truck for everybody that's out there, right?
Yes.
So when we get this summer help, then what vehicle would they use? then?
For the most part, they use the side-by-side, the Ranger, and then depending on what they're doing, they will take city staff pickups at time. Yep, exactly.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Works Director, new vehicle.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Jeff. Let's do it again. 6E, 4th Street, no parking, Jeff.
Yeah, we're just addressing an area down here that has some no parking on 4th Street. The north side to the west and to the east already have no parking areas. One of them on the east side is kind of in conjunction with the apartment building. That is an exit entrance, underground parking door anyways. And what we run into is just with city equipment, trying to perform our duties and stuff. So often we'll get double parked vehicles there on a narrow street already. And it almost makes it impassable for us, impossible for us to pass, I should say, in these areas.
Oftentimes it's impossible for any of us to get past. You have to wait for one car to get all the way through. So in discussing this, the no parking along one full side really would alleviate a lot of that. And then the seasonal comes up. We've got a grassy area there that we could push some snow into if we needed to, if there's not a bunch of cars in the way. So seasonal no parking there just seemed to make sense as well. When Chris and Jeff proposed this to me, it makes sense.
And currently, right now, you can still park where you want to buy that park there. You can still park there. There's no restrictions currently, right?
Question here, like I said, there is already no parking on each end for section, and then in between it is already marked as seasonal.
Okay.
For that, we would just be making that part no parking, and then as you come out of the door on the south side of the road on 4th, as you come out of the apartment building, we would make that seasonal there where we need to make that corner and potentially pile snow in the future.
So seasonal, you can only, say somebody doesn't move it for snow, you can only ticket in seasonal, or can they be towed also?
My assumption would be just during that seasonal enforcement.
So if we put no parking there and they.
Well, yes, for that part, that would be no parking, yes.
Right, but then if they still park there, can we tow them then?
Correct.
The seasonal, you can't tow. If they're parked and then season, no parking for seasonal. It's just a ticket.
Yes.
You still can tow.
We would start with the citation and then public works directed for their operations.
Okay.
The dates would coincide with the snow ordinance. The seasonal days, there will be no
right.
parking there during those snow ordinance times. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff and Tony or Pat or whoever, but this is just kind of outside of where we usually tow. We usually, if we need to, we tow in the very downtown area because we got to keep those roads open. But this is kind of just outside where a lot of times it's a citation, but then they're still in the way.
That's what I was getting at. So
Yeah.
when it gets to be no parking, can it just be a tow then?
During which part, I guess?
Well, the seasonal ones that you're changing.
The seasonal, yes, the ones towards the corner on the south side of the road that we will change to seasonal, yes, those would be, like Tony said, a directive of us to say we need to maintain the streets and they can be towed.
I'll make a motion to approve the 4th Street West no parking arrangement.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks again, Jeff. 6F, Pleasant Avenue bid posting, Mr. Angerman.
So this is our 2026 street project. So just as a recap, this is a street reconstruction of Pleasant, 3rd Avenue, 2nd Avenue, and part of 5th Street. So this is a project where we will remove everything, meaning the curb and gutter, the pavement. We'll put in new sanitary sewer, water, and storm sewer. We did hold a public meeting on February 25th. That was very well attended. We were very happy with the amount of public that came out for that. A couple of highlights from our meeting. We just went through what we were doing, but we also point out this is a construction project that Access to your home will be limited at times. Generally speaking, we try to get you into your house every night. But if, for example, your curb is being poured that day or your driveway, there's a period of time you'll need to stay off of that. Also, construction projects are very weather dependent. So we are hoping Mother Nature cooperates with us. But if we have a wet year or a wet spring, that can definitely throw it off. We always want to be very forthright with our residents, and that is that living in a construction zone is a challenge. It's difficult. So we went through what we do to help with that as far as notifications, as far as garbage cans and mailboxes. We went through those details, and I think everybody felt we have a pretty good plan of how we're going to tackle it this year. So what we're asking the council tonight is you're approving the advertisement for bids. So we will take bids April 15th. We'll bring them to the council on April 16th for action. A couple things. One thing I wanted to point out from the public meeting, we had a couple residents ask if we could install some more subdrain. They let us know there's some wet areas there. So what Brian and I and Jeff had talked about is we're going to keep the scope as is. But if we were, depending upon what our bids come in at a budget, we may elect or come back to the council to add some subdrain into the project. Okay, that was one item. Another item of a more recent concern, this is for Kim, and that is we are a little concerned right now what's going on with oil prices and diesel prices. We are seeing things increase with what's going on in the world right now. So what will happen in the next month is anybody's guess, but that's something we are a little concerned about. Is that going to impact costs? So unfortunately, we won't know until we open bids. But otherwise, everything else should be set to go. So again, we're looking for a motion tonight to approve the advertisement for bids, but would love to answer any questions prior to that.
What is the projected start? How many months to do this?
So we give the contractor flexibility end of May, first part of June, and our completion date is in November.
Any questions for Bill?
I'll make a motion to approve for the bid for the Pleasant Avenue.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Bill. Here you come again. 6G, Resolution 2026-12, lead service line fund application.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So good news, if you hadn't heard, we did receive a grant in the amount of $1 million here in January to replace lead service lines. That will not replace all the lead service lines we have, but this was the maximum grant amount. So we received the maximum amount. We have also now applied for next year as well, so hopefully we'll receive some additional funds. As part of our funding application or funding package, there's a resolution we need to pass tonight. That's what's in your packet. After we pass that, we're actually still waiting for the final documents from the state. Brian and I will work through that. The intent is that we'll come back to you. Again, after this, it's out of our hands, but assuming we finish our funding package, we'll come back here in April to approve an engineering agreement, then to put together plans and specs. Our goal would be to bid this project later this summer, early fall, and then start work on those service lines. So good thing for the city and a good thing to get accomplished. So Mayor, the recommendation is to pass the resolution that's included in your packet.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2026-12.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Sorry. To Bob.
Aye.
Joan.
Aye.
Kevin? Aye.
Fred? Aye. And I. Passes 500. Thanks, Bill. 6H, Highland 7th preliminary plat, Miles.
So we have received some preliminary plat documents from Bigelow Homes to construct 28 single-family and patio homes along Eagle Lane and Highlands Avenue. This would be the 7th phase of our Highlands development. So if you go up to the golf course, there's kind of that big open space. They're moving into that. They own the land. They're moving into that. So we've been part of this process for the last 20 years, basically, but they're coming to do their next chunk to get this moving. So public notices were sent out in February to the affected properties. We held a public hearing at Planning Commission in March. So we heard from probably a dozen residents around the area, mostly about the construction timeline, road access, and possible addition of a park. Some of those were just are done by the development agreement itself. So you'll probably see a lot of that as the development agreement comes along too. So you'll see that in the future, but we will also see a final plat next month as well from Bigelow Homes. They've actually already submitted a lot of that documentation for us as well. So they're moving pretty quickly, and they are, have been super easy to work with for me so far. And city engineers Bill Ingerman and Scott Hunnicky both reviewed the submitted materials and recommended conditional approval of the preliminary plat. Those conditions will be satisfied by the final plat before you get the final recommendation. So anything that's in that conditional letter will be satisfied by the next time you would see this. And so we're looking for kind of approval to move ahead. Planning Commission approved this unanimously. So we're just looking forward to move ahead on this and continue working on the development agreement and getting the final plat ready for council next month.
Their goal is, I assume, move dirt here this spring?
Yeah, they'd like to. You know, it's obviously a slow process, but, and they know the gist of our timeline and what's going on. So they're kind of just waiting on that. But that's the goal, is they want to start getting moving on it this summer at some point.
Wait, what was that?
28.
I just need a motion and a second to approve the preliminary.
I got a question. We've had questions on some lots and things before. Is there any questions with these lots where we're going to need variances down the road, or everything kind of meet our codes right now?
Everything meets our code. So, Bob, you may be referring to in the last phase, this was a planned unit development. We changed the right of way width because we were finding that the previous phases were narrow, and that maybe led to some of the issues.
Yep.
So we did change that last phase, and we are asking them to continue that in this phase to hopefully alleviate some of that. So my answer is yes, but the but part is ultimately we don't control what's proposed on the lot, but it meets all our requirements and we feel it's adequate. Now, someone can still propose something excessive, but we're pretty comfortable with it.
Great, thank
you. Mr. Mayor, this is Mike on Zoom. So if the council is going to make a motion to approve this, I would just in the motion reference the conditional approval. The letter that was sent that lists the conditions. So you'd be approving, it'd be a motion to approve the preliminary plat subject to the conditional approval letter delivered by staff to the developer.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
I'll just make that motion as recommended.
Got that, Kim?
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Miles and Mike, our city attorney. Let's do reports. Brian.
Yeah, I just want to thank the citizens that came out tonight. It's always good to have debate. Thanks for the thoughtful discussion with the council. This is the way local government should work, and we just appreciate all the efforts. And yeah, I thought it was a very good meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. James.
Nothing tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Sarge.
We've had several applications come in for the police officer posting that we have. That's going to close on Sunday. Then Chief Callahan will begin the review process of those and scheduling interviews for qualified applicants. Stephanie, our newest sergeant, has started her field training after completed the administrative side. We threw her right into it Sunday with the blizzard. So she was in for a wild ride right off the bat, but she's acclimating very well. She will be assuming my side of the schedule here on Wednesday, Thursdays, once she does complete the training. Other than that, we're just looking forward to getting interviews on our way for the officer candidates.
Thanks, Sergeant. Bill.
Nothing additional, Mayor. Thank you.
Jeff.
Nothing tonight.
Kim.
Nothing tonight.
Miles. I just want to make a quick note. I know we had a few inches of snow. I just want to thank the Park and Street. I know they had some challenges, just like anybody else that was moving snow or had to move it in the driveway, but you did a great job of cleaning it up and keeping on it. So again, I want to thank the street guys for that. Bob?
I just wanted to say about the same thing Brian did. Thank you for all the citizens and all the people that did make comments to some of these issues that we have. Very much appreciate their inputs.
Joan?
I would agree with Bob. It was a very nice conversation with the citizens here. That was very nice.
Yeah, two things. One with the new ambulance rig is in, and out in use, so that's a success. And then also related to that, just big props to the Department of for the plowing. The state had a number of rigs in the ditch and things, and they were able to accommodate some of the traffic and clearing of roads and things that really helped out in the emergency situation. So big props to your department for that. Thank you.
Brett?
And I just want to thank you too for that, because I couldn't imagine you guys got there on Monday morning, it was like, oh, what did we do with all this? Yeah, it was like, so I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Perfect. Meeting adjourned.